What is up, everybody? This is Tessa.
And I'm Tricia, and welcome to Strong Female Lead.
Hollywood has been telling us what is and isn't a strong female lead for as long as we can remember, but did they get it right? On this podcast, we look at female characters in movies and television in order to create social dialogue about representation of women in media. Tricia, what are we looking at today? What can they prepare their ears for?
Today, we are looking at Pretty Little Liars, The Perfectionists.
Guys, you're just welcome. We did you a solid. We've done this for you and also for me, but mostly for me.
Only for the listeners. This was for the listeners.
This was for me specifically. I sit here at the recording of this podcast in my Pretty Little Liars Perfectionist t-shirt as a stan of the show. Just,
Yeah.
I just found out some devastating details from Tricia about what I thought was happening in season 1 is completely inaccurate, which follows, per the course of the Pretty Little Liars universe, you never actually know what is happening. So
I love that this show or this universe is so good that even after watching Pretty Little Liars, you thought for a second that you knew who the villain was in the first season.
Yeah, I mean, how stupid of me. To even assume that little humble old me could figure out the complexities of a world like this, because I have been sorely mistaken, and we'll get to what I think is happening, and in reality what Tricia's brought facts about.
Well, yeah, I like to bring facts, people. I work with facts. I work with regs. I work with laws. I'm like, listen, we need to take a look at this. But here's the thing. We don't know because, sadly, this show was stripped from our universe after one season. So we don't know if it was actually going to follow the book play-by-play, which neither Tessa or I have read. And my information, my facts, are from Wiki fandom. So here's the thing. I don't know how strong those facts are, but I'm unclear where else I could find them other than reading the book myself or getting some interview with Marlene King. But here we are, and we are going to talk Perfectionists. And this is a weird, so apparently this is what it is described as: an American crime thriller mystery drama. That's just so many words. American crime thriller mystery drama television series. And it's a sequel to Pretty Little Liars and loosely based off of The Perfectionists. So here's the thing that I'm wondering. I think that the characters they brought into this, which were Allie and Mona, which we were all very excited to see, I'm not sure they're part of The Perfectionists. I think this is a telling of The Perfectionists with those two characters in it, and then they're using some of the actors from whatever that other spinoff was that we couldn't locate anywhere.
Ravenswood, which is so hard to find. We wanted this complete world for you guys, but Ravenswood has been stricken from the record. It is never to be spoken about again because it is unavailable on the interwebs. So.
I mean, and how funny that we're in a time that we're like, we can't find it. I'm sure we could purchase it somewhere, anywhere. Maybe eBay. I don't know. But that's too much work and too much dedication. So to us, it's nowhere.
No.
If you guys know where we can stream it for $10 or less, let us know. Yeah. But other than that, it's out.
Yeah. It looks pretty epically bad. So it was the one that I was most interested in outside of The Perfectionists. But it looks so bad. And I know that Hannah from the original series is featured in Ravenswood, so I thought, at least it'd be some quippy little one-liners that would get me through.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
nothing. I don't even know. I don't even know where to begin with that one because I feel like it's an entirely different story. It doesn't have the same thread as The Perfectionists do. So I'm curious if Pretty Little Liars. Is that a book by the same author, Sarah Shepard?
I
Good
have
thing
no,
to know.
yeah, I did not know that any of these things were anything but written for TV. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, Pretty Little Liars is a book series.
All right. So I guess she just really likes this kind of story, which is perfectly fine.
Fine for me.
Yeah. I mean, so that's what The Perfectionist is. And I mean, I tried to find a really good synopsis and I was having some trouble. But basically, Allie decides to like be all grown up. She's already separated from Emily with twins, but she's decided to leave them because she needs to find herself or something. And so Emily's back home with the kids. She goes to Beacon Heights and starts working as like, is she a graduate instructor or something? Did she go to school? I'm not. It's unclear.
What's the level higher than a TA?
Because that's what she seems like.
Yeah, like a TA, I always think of as a fellow. Well, actually, no. Maybe she is a TA because you can be a grad student and be a TA. She's some sort of grad. She's there for a grad program, but she's also a TA, which is why
Right.
she has English classes with the main three characters. How she meets them.
Right, like a graduate student instructor. That's
Right.
what they were. Like, yeah, that's what they were called at U of M. And so she's teaching, and somehow she learns that Mona is also there. Finds out that Mona is the reason she was hired. Mona is amazing as always, and it's unclear what Mona is doing from the get because she's always a plot. Mona is always thick in a plot. So they both work there, and then lo and behold, there's a mysterious suicide of a girl that looks like Allie. There are 3 students that are pretending to be friends with this guy Nolan, whose mother owns a security Hotchkiss technology, and they have security on the campus. I don't know. I felt a big Gossip Girl vibe.
Yeah.
Especially with the mom. I mean, she couldn't have been more like her character in Gossip.
Yeah, I was like, wait, she was in Gossip Girl, right?
Right. Same thing. Like, devious mother. And I mean, so basically what we're trying to find out is where Taylor is. So that's the suicide, Taylor Hotchkiss, and her mom is, what are the names of these characters? Can we go just list the primary characters?
There's Allison and Mona, who are from the original series, and then we get 3 new characters, which is Ava Jalali, Caitlin Park Lewis, and Dylan Walker, who are the 3 central characters from The Perfectionists, whose story that we're following. We have the Hotchkiss family, which is Taylor Hotchkiss, Claire Hotchkiss, and is it Dylan? Something like that. Nolan. Nolan is
Got it.
kind of the mean girl, mean guy. Is there equivalent term for guys? Mean guy? Is that a thing?
Oh my god, I love that, but I don't know.
I'm gonna call him a hot boy. He's the hot boy.
He's a fun boy.
Yeah, and then the 3 others just orbit around him, doing his bidding until chaos ensues.
Right. So that's who. It's basically the Hotchkiss family, Allison and Mona, and the 3 students. Those are the primary players. I mean, we also have a detective, right? As always, there must be a detective. And first we learn that Taylor Hotchkiss allegedly committed suicide, and Claire Hotchkiss, her mother, got Mona to hire Allison because Allison looks like her. Okay. And then we learn that Nolan has secrets on Ava, Caitlin, and Dylan, and he is blackmailing them to be friends with him so that his mom thinks everything is fine. Meanwhile, there is a Big Brother type technology system going on. I forget what it's called. And then Nolan dies. And so they're trying to figure out who killed Nolan. And those are the suspects, I think, right now, are Ava, Caitlin, Dylan. Taylor is alive. We already have a faked death in season 1. And yeah, I mean, what it seems like they're trying to do, which is kind of clever, is the students at the university, Caitlin, Dylan, and Taylor, are all in Allison's class, and they're reading And Then There Were None, and by Agatha Christie. And so the plot is following the Agatha Christie plot, where there's strangers, and they all have secrets, and then they all die one by one. So that's it. We're trying to find out who killed Nolan, because we already know that Taylor's alive.
Yes. So the Hotchkiss family, the series really is centered around the Hotchkiss families and the secrets therein. So Taylor Hotchkiss is the elder sister to, oh God, I already forgot his name. What is it, Dylan? Nolan. Why do I keep calling
Dylan? Because Dylan is the other student. He is the one that slept with Nolan.
Right. So Taylor is a little bit cuckoo crazy, and created the Big Brother system that secures the campus, but it goes too far. The system turns against her, and so she believes someone is trying to kill her, so she fakes her death and goes into hiding. But everyone but Nolan is the only one who knows that Taylor actually isn't dead, but is hiding, and they're trying to figure out who is trying to kill her. So that was the original mystery that we're giving. We're like, oh, we need to know if Taylor is really alive, and then Nolan solves that one for us pretty early in the series. And then we need to know, well, why can't she come back? Why does she need people to think that she's dead? And it's because there's some greater overarching conspiracy happening, where someone is trying to kill her in order to take over full control of this Big Brother program that controls campus and generally controls outcomes for the students at BHU, the university where this whole thing is being set. So I thought that was really interesting. And I was like, well, what an interesting world that you created where technology, like for a show that's like kind of, basic and all
stupid.
It can be basic, like a pumpkin spice basic, like leggings and Uggs basic, in that type of vein, to have such an interesting overarching plot that like maybe technology, and this is relatively contemporary. I want to say this came out in 2019, so I guess it's like of the current moment where people are finally starting to mistrust technology in all of its applications. And so I thought that was an interesting theme to throw at us, like right off the bat. And then you get, layered in there the traditional Pretty Little Liars plots where there's a big murder and our main characters are the main suspects, and somehow they need to prove their own innocence while also not revealing and then eventually revealing what their secrets are.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Mona. As soon as I saw her, I was like, oh, great. Mona's here. Everything's okay. I think she's fantastic. I love to see this character win. I love how awkward she is. I love her secret boyfriend throughout the series. We're all just like, as like a throwaway little mystery. We're trying to figure out who she's talking to. She plays this chess game, and she's like intellectually or sapiosexually in love with whoever she's playing against. But she's, and this little like chess game goes on between them until like almost like the last 2 to 3 episodes when we finally get revealed who it is, because there's absolutely no way you would have figured out who it was ever if they didn't just outright tell you.
Well, that's what's so great about these shows, and why I thought it was so funny that you thought you had it figured out, is they're written so that you have no way of knowing until they just flat out give you the information. There's never really there's no hint that you can really follow. Like there's no, they set it up so it's one person, one episode, and everything points to that. Then it's another episode, and everything points at, you just don't know. And then that kid is sleeping with Mrs. Hotchkiss, isn't he?
Yeah, which was weird. I'm glad that they just made that a footnote and didn't explore that as a plot line. I was like, we don't need this. We don't need to see any of this. I don't want it. I don't want it.
Why can't I, Marlene, get away from these types of relationships? I know he's of consent, but it just must always happen.
That was my big thing. I thought that this show was trying to redeem some of the things that were happening in Pretty Little Liars with the inappropriate teacher-student relationship.
No way!
All it did was, it's like, no, there's something really sexy about the teacher-student relationship. Let's just put that on older people. Still the same questionable lines about the power dynamic between even like Mona, when we figure out who she's talking to, is talking to a student. I was like, it's still... I mean, it's not as inappropriate because she's more of an administrator than a teacher, but it's still like...
Oh, right. I forgot about Mona. I was thinking about Claire Hotchkiss. Right, Mona.
Yeah.
Marlene loves student-teacher shenanigans. That is just what we have learned. The power dynamic's weird. Claire Hotchkiss is sleeping with him because, he's friends with her son, who she thinks is dead. And then also, so Taylor creates the system. I totally forgot. So, footnote of my own, I watched this when I was sick with COVID. And I think maybe I didn't get all of it, or maybe I thought other stuff was happening. I'm not sure if I slept through an episode or two. I did watch some recaps, but I totally forgot that Taylor created the system, but then it seems like her mom is responsible for she's using the system that was created to, at least we know, to track Nolan. And can it just be stated, these random hacker computer skills that these characters have at such a young age, they're all savants. Like, Mona's a savant.
Yeah.
Taylor's a savant. I'm like, I want some skills like that.
I mean, I expect, this is some like very high grade hacking that these kids are doing with such ease, which was, like when you show an older person like how to do TikTok, and it's so easy for us and it's so hard for them. I feel like that's what's happening. It's like, it looks so hard, but what did they do? Like, log in an incognito profile, and they're like, we hacked it. And I'm like, okay.
You're right. To me, I'm like, genius. I mean, but she created a system. Like, what's that?
Yeah. Well, they are like supposed to be like at the Harvard of the Pacific Northwest, so.
Oh, you're right. But Mona just had those skills at age like 16.
That's another reason why she's amazing, because not only is she a little bit cuckoo crazy, she's 100% like able to execute a plan. And I was like, I love this. You can be, a little bit cuckoo crazy, go off the deep end in a film setting, as long as you're effective. I don't want to see you just like making, spinning wild tales and never doing.
We don't want you flailing around.
Yeah, be good at be good at villainry if you're going to be a villain.
She's a proper villainess.
Yeah.
But let's just, okay, so Mona ends up there for her job, but in a recap I watched, she was in Paris, living in a basement with like a couple of people, and then they escaped, and then she moved here. I don't know. I'm gonna have to show you that recap, but I'm like, was Mona holding people captive before this? How did she get a job? How does Mona get from point A to point B? Is always my question, like how she's not in prison at this point.
I mean, seemingly if you have enough money, what is prison? What is the FBI? What is the government? What is the word no?
Fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I did learn something in Pretty Little Liars.
That's fair. And this is
everyone has a price.
Everyone what?
Everyone has a price.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the thing that seems similar to Pretty Little Liars is they're getting texts, right? It all goes to the phone. They're getting messages about their little lies, and Caitlin is being blackmailed about her mom because her mom is cheating on her mom. Right? And they are, senators or something? Someone's a senator.
Yeah, one of her moms is a senator who is caught cheating with a man. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so they have this image that is like floating around, and Nolan's character is blackmailing her in order to stay in a fake relationship with him because it looks good, while he dates Ava for love, in quotations.
In quotations, because he is also like he's keeping her secret, right? Because does he know that her dad is still alive, or she's in contact with her dad, or she has money? Because her dad got into some rich people trouble with money and laundering, just a general scheme, a general overarching money scheme.
You get it.
And that we don't even need to really know that much about, but she has some of his money and she's still in touch with him. I don't know where the mom is. Did the mom die?
No, apparently they're just on the run together. And from what I can tell, like, that's not what Nolan is blackmailing her with. He's not
Oh.
blackmailing her. He
Oh.
does seem to, like, in quotations, love her and be, like, genuinely interested in her.
Okay.
But at least from what I remember from the series, like, he's never holding it over her head that, like, your dad's a criminal, because he kind of comes to her rescue when everyone is like, your dad's a criminal, so you're a criminal.
Okay. So then why is she because she loves him, even though he pushed her away by cheating on her?
Mm-hmm. Because he thought that whoever is after Taylor was after him also, so he was pushing her away to protect her. And I was like, that what an extreme you went to, sir. That is not okay.
I know, he was like, he tore her down.
Yeah, like inside another woman when I walked in. I was like, wow, sir, you are extra.
And then not only like cheated on her and knew she'd find out, but like was terrible to her and ended it with her, and being mean to her. Yet she still loves him. Okay, so then the blackmail against Dylan is basically that he slept with Nolan and cheated on his own boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And it seems like Nolan could have just set that up so that he'd have Dylan.
Yeah, it seems like that's what he did.
By the ball, so to speak, right? Like, so. Yeah.
But there's also no telling how many other people Nolan had this type of dirt on. So, like, that's why I was excited for a season 2, because why would you stop at 3? If you could have a whole city on the payroll, or a whole, like, little ecosystem that is your university,
right,
on your, criminal hit list, or,
right,
doing things for you and working things out for you, why would you stop just at,
exactly,
just people?
I think he probably did have more.
Yeah,
and then we have the surly detective, right, that we're like made to hate, but really, I think she's probably much better than the other characters. It's very unclear, but at the end of the season, we find out it's a whole social experiment. It's not just Big Brother, and that's fascinating. I love me a social experiment. Same reason I love The Wilds, which I hope we end up doing. I love a social experiment. Just cameras be watching, people be doing. Love it. Love it. I mean, we could jump into female lead, or just the female characters. I guess we haven't really talked about them, other than just part of the plot.
Yeah, I think we've only spent time on Mona, but like, she's the best. So. I mean, everyone else is just there. Mona should have got her own spinoff, because I would have watched that stuff if it was like a weird, like what is that guy's name who did like the Grand Budapest Hotel?
That Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson meets Mona would be like my dream. Just like too smart for their own good, quirky with a bit of violence. Like, yeah, I'm into it.
Quirky with a bit of violence.
Yeah.
Is sort of incredible. And Mona is just so goddamn lovable. You know who's not lovable? Allison. Because I want her to stop splaining. she Allison splains. She's this wise old owl that had just like I'm so irritated with her acting. Like she's just so grown. It truly drives me insane. Like I just and then I know it's for the Pretty Little Liars fans, but those little like comments and banter between her and Mona and the students are like, what?
Yeah.
Like about faking dads and just I mean and she's not that smart. So how the fuck is she figuring like every single clue she figures out is like insane. And I just don't like her. I liked her better. I liked her character better in Pretty Little Liars. I do not like this version, this like wise version. I don't like it.
The one thing I didn't like is like I don't like when characters have a presumed knowledge of each other having never met. So Allison's aversion to like Detective Booker was annoying to me because I'm like, you don't know her. For all you know, she's a investigator with the university trying to solve a murder. And so like for her to always have this like animosity towards her doing the job she's hired to do
Right.
until she figures out that like she's not only, working for the university, but she's also individually like targeting Ava like as a outside interest from her former position. But I'm like, I just didn't like that because it just seems like you're against being policed or
for sure.
any sort of responsibility to the outside community, which is like absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. And I was like, so let's stop putting that on TV. Like we all have social responsibilities and like, you cannot do whatever you want just because you're rich and like are in a.
But that's how it is for her. That how she just is anti-authority. Yeah. And it's like you're anti-authority, but like you're always doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You're always doing something wrong.
Like when she offers that alibi, and I was like, girl.
Insane. And out of nowhere. And that's why this show, like, obviously it's supposed to draw us in right away because, like, never, ever would that fucking happen. She had no reason at all to just jump into this web. Like she loves the drama. She thinks it finds her and it's weird.
No, you seek that shit out. Just like when she went on the date with the married guy and I was like, wasn't he wearing a ring the whole time?
Was he?
He was.
I didn't even know he was wearing one. But I'm like, she's just the queen of, one of those characters that goes into a sticky situation and then is like, no, I can't. And then keeps going in and then fights it, but doesn't fight it. And then just is the worst one out of them. I'm like, just stop.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, like there's every exit in the world to not involve yourself in at a university. Especially when you're trying to start your life over, having lost the love of your life and presumably your children. Maybe you just stay out of the drama for a little bit.
Fascinating. Okay, so Allie, we don't like her. All right.
I mean,
Mona,
I just feel like she doesn't really have a role until she inserts herself. Like she's not actually having to do any of this. Like in Pretty Little Liars, like this is her trying to expose the truth about her community. In this show, she's just inserting herself into a community so that she has a storyline, which seems like the opposite thing to do in order to like. If she's there and her intent was truly to start over and start something fresh, why do you then insert yourself into the only murder mystery happening on campus?
Right. And the reason your wife is separated from you is she can't get over who you used to be. Mm-hmm. You're like, well, I will just go and continue on that train.
Yeah.
And and I think that's what shows that that character isn't supposed to be there. Like that's an add-on because it really is just like, what?
I think it's a smart choice in terms of an add-on. And I think like if there was a second season, it would be Allison would then be a part of the plot. Like this is just the long game of inserting her into the plot of the show. in a way that kind of makes sense. But season 1, it was just like anyone could be Allison. You know, it seems like Dana Booker should have been Allison, or like be in Allison's role. Like, oh, I kind of have a soft approach to these students, like may not know how deep in this water that they really are, but I have an obligation to investigate this on the behalf of the Hotchkiss because they're my benefactor. And then they're like, well, how can we get Pretty Little Liars viewers? Let's add Mona, let's add Elsie.
For sure, and let's add perfect grooming.
Yeah. Oh my God. Bringing up perfect grooming, Ava Jalali. Like, whoa. I was like, how long were you in the hair and makeup chair? She was great.
Jesus. She, like, just never, ever, ever.
With a single strand of hair out of place. Not a single strand of hair out of place.
A student looked like that. I mean, they were all very attractive, but yeah, I was like...
A supposedly poor student. Like, you are not supposed to have money like this if your dad is on the run for money laundering. But no one's asking, how do you pay for this Harvard-esque college and for this, 5-star grooming? Wow.
Her eyebrows. I'm just like, what in the fuck? And not that you can't, like, go to Harvard and want to be in fashion design, but I'm just like, why are you there? You don't need to go to this type of university to do that. I mean, like, why are you there?
Well, she, like, minor or something is in, or, like, she has something to do with tech, not just fashion. Like, maybe it was, like, her backup, like, her plan B is to go into tech. And
of course.
But I'm like, yeah, I don't know that, I'm not into fashion like this, but I don't know that any, like, major designers are coming out of schools like Harvard and Yale. But what do I know? I don't.
No, and she'd be way better off. Like, she's building her brand and stuff. Like, she could just keep doing that shit. Like, her connection to her dad could work for her in that way.
Yeah, especially like they couldn't have like foreseen this, but that girl who's like Aunt Becky's daughter, because like she's supposed to be a YouTuber, a YouTube influencer. So it was like, what an interesting like pairing of like events to happen with whatever that girl's name is, something.
Happened after.
Scandal. And I was like, what an interesting like art imitating life, imitating art.
Or life imitating art, for sure, because I feel like that happened later.
Yeah.
If this was filmed in like 2018. Yeah, and I do think that it depends what your brand is. So if your brand is a little bit of a like, like it's not squeaky clean, it can work for you. And the daughter of Aunt Becky, I think hers was very much squeaky clean. And so those people working with her and those brands working with her are like, oh, fuck no. But if your brand is like, my dad's a criminal, like that could work for you. And frankly, Ava Jalali looks more the part of that. Like, she just has the look where like she could just like, she just has a darker vibe, I have to say, like the way she carries herself and stuff. And I just love it. I love it. She's got to be how old? I have no idea how old she's way older than this character, don't you think? At least she carries herself very maturely.
I don't know. I don't know. She looked young. I mean, I don't know. I just categorize people who are younger than me and then children. I don't even see like your real face. I'm just like, you look like an infant, but I don't know. I don't know. I disagree that like I thought she had kind of the squeaky clean image, but it's what everyone put on her because her dad is a criminal that people see her having this like darker like brand or imaging. But I was like, nothing she's done would lead you to believe that. She's just a loyal daughter who didn't rat her out her father. And she's in a relationship with a guy whose parents don't understand him. So, I mean, if anything, she's an abused woman who doesn't have any boundaries, who kind of learns them along the way. But, like, they're kind of bad boundaries because I'm like, you're not cooperating with an investigation. Bad. But you've also just been abandoned. Bad. But I do think that like, and why she gets so mad at the other female lead character, Caitlin Park Lewis, is because of Caitlin is the one who released her. Caitlin releases Ava's secret that her father is the one who's like on America's Most Wanted to the university, and so they have a falling out over that because the reason why Ava can't have a fair chance is because Caitlin released this secret. She was going by, flying under the radar, making her own name and making her own way until, this happened. So I have the most sympathy in all of this for Ava because you don't get to choose your immediate family. You do get to choose your friends who can become family, which I think is her whole storyline, is that you don't get to choose where you come from, but you get to make the best decisions over, where you end up. You don't get to choose the start. You get to, make decisions that lead you to where you're going.
You gotta have a Team Ava t-shirt then.
I would if the show continued.
So let's discuss whether or not these characters are strong female leads. So who do you think the female leads are? I mean, there's a lot of women here, and there's a lot of characters. The two primary ones, I think, are Allison and Mona. But then maybe also Caitlin and Ava.
For me, I think that the leads would be Ava, Caitlin, and Allison. Mona is for me, she's more of a recurring character. They keep coming to her when they need something, but like we're not following her storyline throughout the like entirety of the show. So if I had to knock somebody down to like a secondary,
you're right. And Mona deserves a lead. You're right, but she's not. She deserves to be lead. So we've got Caitlin, Ava, and okay, Allie, strong female lead or not. What do you think? So our criteria in SFL is, in order to be an SFL, the lead needs to be top billed. The character needs to impact the plot and or move the story forward. And the character also needs agency. Allison.
I mean, I'd say she is an SFL. I think she meets the criteria. Yeah, I think that she was an SFL in the original series, and then that continues. I don't see the type of growth I'd like to see in Allison after having been in situations like this for about 10 years. But yeah.
This is what we would call a pattern, people. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, she's top billed. She impacts the plot by just randomly interjecting herself into it, although she was chosen for a reason. So I guess she does get thrown into it because of her looks, allegedly, but that's a very weird reason to me. So I think that she also obviously has agency because Allison does whatever the fuck she wants.
Yeah.
What about Caitlin? Right? Like, it's a little bit weird because I'm like, they impact the plot, or is she being impacted? Because she hasn't done anything out of her own accord that moves her character forward. It doesn't seem, other than being with that British guy.
Yeah, I'm always trying to like, look at the character's action, and had they not made that action, would the plot continue in the way that it had, like the way that the story was told? Mm-hmm. And for Caitlin, it seems like the decision that she's making is to date, to pursue her own happiness, to like exert a little bit of agency and saying, yeah, I have to stay with Nolan for the aesthetics. So, and also for my parents, but I'm going to pursue love in the form of her British boyfriend. So I'm like, that's a choice. That's some agency. And without that, without that choice being made, does the rest of the plot happen the way that we think it happens? No, because there's no British boyfriend, and him, Nolan and her would be essentially in a real relationship, and there's no friendship between Ava, Dylan, and herself. So, I mean, I'll give her the SFL. I want to give her a tiny hat because I just think that her character wasn't as flushed out as Allison, but I understand why Allison's was, because she's the thread for the universe.
Right.
But
yeah, it's a little weird though, because I kind of think, could Caitlin have just been anybody and not Caitlin? Right? Like the British boyfriend, it seems like he chose her for specific reasons. I don't know. I just kind of felt like he's just part of the plot, and we never really learn like how deep it is. But
do you think that he would still murder Nolan had he not been dating Caitlin?
That's what I'm not sure of. Yeah.
I don't think well, at least from his own admission, he doesn't have another motive for murdering Nolan.
But he didn't murder Nolan.
Well, that's what we think from Wiki Fandom, but from what's going on the show, yes, all the spoilers, guys. Sorry about that. Well, if you've gotten this far, you've tolerated our spoilers.
Right, right.
But
yeah, a tiny hat. I just kind of have a feeling that all of these people were replaceable. The perfectionists. They could have been just other students there, right? So I'm just trying to reconcile that piece.
Original series too, because we only have like 1 or 2 layers of what is a like a 10-layer cake.
Yeah, I know, it's hard. Fair point. I'll give her a tiny hat. I mean, she's definitely making decisions.
Yeah,
she's making decisions to, like it's the universe she's in that's being controlled, and that's where the whole social experiment aspect of this is. All of their actions are kind of being predetermined. So do any of them really have agency, right? The larger question. But we don't know because we can't go into season 2 and find out more.
Well, that's interesting, because I didn't really think of it as like the overarching, like at the end you get that flash forward, little bit of a flash forward to like realizing that there's a greater game afoot, like
afoot.
Yeah, I say that a lot lately.
I know, I love it.
Sherlock. But I guess my like the hard part about this show and with mysteries, I think, is that the world is what's the like issue, or is it the people that are the issue? Like, either are these complicated characters, or is this a complicated world? Because the world, it seems like these are like, even though the world is like a little bit outlandish, it's really the people that are making these like poor decisions. Like, even though it's being controlled by this game, it's still like no one tells Taylor to shoot the British boyfriend. Like, they didn't turn up the heat on her that much to cause this action.
Totally. And it's kind of like, way back when, season 1, when we did Tangerine, the woman was a sex worker. So there was limited agency in certain ways. She was being controlled by someone, but she still exercised her own agency. I think it was more obvious in that one. But aside from, I think within this context, they're exerting some form of agency within the world. Although the larger question, does anyone have agency, is something we can ask ourselves either. Or also, like watching The Social Dilemma. If you guys have seen that on Netflix, that makes you think that none of us are actually doing what we want to be doing. And we're all gonna die. So how about Ava?
I think that Ava, even more than Caitlin, is more not critical to the plot. Like, Ava's storyline is interesting, but if you remove Ava from the situation, nothing changes about the plot. So I wonder if maybe in season 2 we get more about her. But doesn't have a real secret because Caitlin reveals it to the school, so she's exposed. She's only there because her ex-boyfriend is dead.
So, but she chooses to be with him. Yeah.
And they'll give her a tiny hat also. I mean, I think that she does display agency. She does make choices. She chooses to not help her father after she comes to some realization. I think she's, sadly, she's just got bad boundaries. She's had, some abuse in the past, some further abuse on like by Nolan. Like the men in her life just aren't great.
She has, I would say she and Caitlin, I would give them teensy hats. Teensy hat SFLs. And Allison, as terrible as she is, and frankly is boring, she's still boring. Even when, like, I've never seen a character make every wrong decision and still be boring. It's almost because she's making every wrong decision.
Yeah.
Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's whatever she shouldn't be doing, she's doing.
Yeah.
But at least we have a cast of females. There's a lot of females, and we don't know. There may be other ones that pop up as SFLs later on, but, we don't have a later on. We don't have a later on of this show. So this is what we've got. What would you say that this says about femininity? If anything. It's not as clear. Pretty Little Liars was problematic across the board regarding, I think some feminine ideals in terms of like looks and appearance and that kind of thing. It didn't slap me over. It didn't hit me over the head. Message here at all.
I agree. I mean, I like that it just seems so normal from these like really like run the gamut in terms of like personalities. I like that all the characters just feel so normal and that they would fit into like literally anyone's friend circles. Like I mean, I don't know Amona. I would like to. I would love for people to
Oh God.
I'm like okay at computers, but I love a mystery. But I feel like for the rest of the characters, for Ava, knowing somebody who's like, maybe like aesthetically like hyper femme, but also like on the inside might, have trouble with boundaries, be not choosing men great, be making questionable decisions about relationships. And then, the Caitlin, her storyline. I love the way, again, I think that this writing team, this team does a great job of like portraying the LGBTQIA plus and world and having that feel so normal and having it not be questioned, having it just be fact, and living in an aspirational world like that where it's just like no homophobia. Well, except for Dylan's character. Dylan, at the very end, we get like some massive
we get a high school bully.
But even there's like they introduced that character, I think, in an attempt to resolve it instead of create one. But
because he was homosexual himself.
Yeah, but I'm like, we'll never know now because there's no season. Ridiculous. I was like, are they together? What's happening? It seems like this could be a friend thing or maybe like a love thing.
I know.
Telling me anything. Come on.
I agree with you though that I do like the messaging around sexuality and we are who we are. And I like that it's not even really a big part of the plot. Not that it's not a big part of the plot, but it's not an issue they're facing in the plot. They just are.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. There's no, well, maybe with the high school bully, there's a sense of coming out. But I really love when there isn't a sense of coming out.
Yeah.
It's just already out. There's no reason to hide.
Yeah, and I think, some things, sometimes I'm just like, lie to me and tell me that it's possible to live in that world. And maybe, and hopefully for some people or most people, it does exist like that. But, coming from the ages we are, it was not like that for a lot of people. So I love to see this world building that includes things like that. And also, like, I feel like it's a very diverse cast, which I appreciate. Again, that feels very normal. Nobody feels out of place. Yeah, like that. Good for you. I would appreciate a little bit more like diversity and like bodies and ableism if we're just improving things that can be improved. You're on a university campus. if we can get some more diversity in that regard, I mean, that would be nice. But I mean, you've done so well in so many areas.
Thank you. It almost makes up for the inappropriate relationships. So what would you rate? We forgot to rate last time. What would you rate? I know you stan. I'm curious about your rate.
I love this show. I would probably give this like 2.5 or 3 out of 5.
Ooh.
Hit and runs. I loved that scene. It was so good, so dramatic. 2.5 or 3 hit and runs. Like, it's a good show. It's a good time. It's completely bingeable. It's available on HBO Go, I think. I watch it through Hulu, so HBO, Hulu, whichever you have. It's completely bingeable. There's 10 episodes. You can get through it. It will hold your attention. Is it like the most amazing thing that's ever happened to my eyeballs? No. That place is currently held by the show Legion.
Yeah.
But is it a good time? Would I watch it again? Yes, I've seen the series completely through now twice.
The series, this season. Oh my God. I love it.
Yeah, what did you think?
I mean, bingeable, you know, I came out of a coma. Same way as I did with Pretty Little Liars, just made me feel like I didn't realize I was watching 10 episodes. I would give it a 2 out of 5 teacher-student relationships. So we've got some hit and runs, teacher-student relationships. Thank you, I'm Marlene King, for, giving us such a good rating scale here. So, shit, guys. All right, well, thank you for joining us. Thank you. I love that we're already on episode 3. We're coming back. We're doing the thing. You can find us on Instagram at Strong Female Pod.
And tweet at us. Tweet at your suggestions. If you guys are watching anything that's amazing, if you've also started the show Legion and your eyeballs are just like coming out of your head because wow. Or if you're just starting The Perfectionists and you just need to talk to someone, we're all here for you. If you just need to talk to someone about your feelings, about what's happening on the screen before you, we are here for you. And we're on Twitter, so please tweet at us. You're SFL_Chicago.
Yes, and remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Again, looking to quit those day jobs. Do it for us.
Yeah, maybe the world tour after this whole COVID debacle finally ends, coming at you like 2024 maybe. We're just like we're coming for you.
It's gonna be a while. It's gonna be a while, but we see you, Australia. We haven't forgotten.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time.
Bye.
Bye.